We're going to get right into the story, but before we do, click on the bell icon and subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories in the future. Let's assume for a moment that the name of my ex-boyfriend was Jack, who was 32 years old, and my name was Tatiana, 29 years old. The two of us were very close to each other at the time. However, I did feel awful from time to time due to the fact that he engaged in a few suspect activities. It has been 5 years since we were in a relationship. Initially, we were professionally involved with each other. Both of our companies were working together on a project. The meeting was the first time I met him, and I was looking forward to meeting him again. Upon his arrival, he was accompanied by his official staff members as well. In some way or other, we got the chance to interact and our formal talks began. In the beginning, we had to meet for business lunches and dinners on a regular basis. Afterwards, he asked me to join him for an event he was planning. As he was leaving, I decided to join him. As a matter of fact, I was also receiving vibes of love from him as well. The problem was that I was an introvert in this situation. It was always my desire that he initiates the process as he did in the past. It was 5 years ago that we began our little story from here. Among our common friends, we have a few who are close to us. As a result, we all hang out together all the time. As a matter of fact, my friend Nancy lived in the same area as him, and they also were family friends. I was also intrigued by our chemistry that I couldn't stop thinking about it. The whole experience was enjoyable for me. The fact that he was in my life made me feel blessed. I found him to be so handsome and sweet from my point of view. There was one affair that I had before he came into my life, but it was such a toxic experience. That's why I quit. It was such a pleasure to meet Jack, and he was so cooperative and friendly. I have finally found my soulmate after searching for a long time. There are a lot of other habits that we have in common as well. Nancy was such a close friend of Jack's that was like a sister to him. As such, Jack had not told me that he had a serious affair with someone, nor did I ask him about it. One day, Nancy said he had an affair with a girl, and he was about to propose her, but she cheated on him. As a result of that, he got broken up with her, but still he had some feelings for her. When he saw her, he still wanted to be with her every time, whenever he saw her. As far as he was concerned, she was his true love, according to him. As it turned out, it happened once she came over to meet him. He begged her not to leave, but she didn't, and she left. The more I listened to all this, the more my heart got changed a little bit. Since I was expecting him to tell me first, what is the reason why he didn't told me about his past when I told him everything about my past? It is hard to comprehend why he would do such a thing. As I asked him, he finally told me, but not before he made sure that he was moved on and that he does not want to spoil my mood by telling me of his dark past. As a result of my love and emotions, I was able to forgive him. He arranged a party for his promotion, but suddenly he held my hand and got down on his knees and proposed to me. I was astonished by the surprise that I received. There was no way I could have anticipated that I would be in love with him, so immediately I agreed and accepted his proposal. In the end, we decided to get married 2 years of dating. It was such a happy moment for us. The preparations for the wedding have begun. There was only 1 month left until the wedding. There was an event that took place. All of a sudden, everything changed towards me. On the one hand, it was a good move, but on the other hand, it was hurtful at that particular time. It was impossible for me to even begin to imagine that such a thing will happen one day in my life. My apologies for the background scenario, but I believe it is necessary to clarify the whole situation in order to move forward. I was offered the opportunity to live with Jack a few months back. In spite of this, I refused because I wanted to start everything after marriage in a natural and beautiful way. Regardless of this, once I went to his house, I was surprised to find that I did not inform him that I was there. In addition, since I had the keys to his house, I had access to the lunch area of his house, and around the time I arrived, I discovered a girl sitting in his lunch area. She didn't tell me who she was, so I didn't ask her who she was. However, I can feel that she was worried or that she might have been afraid. As a matter of fact, Jack came after a while. I can tell that he was amazed when he saw me, and I can hear the distortion in his voice when he saw me. His face was a bit shocked when he found me there. Upon asking him where he was going, he replied in a very strange way. He told me he was going to the office with his new employee. He was obviously talking about that girl when he said that. As a result, I did not ask him who that girl was. It was a fact that he had a lot of nervous energy. As a result of that, he left this girl on that particular day. At that time, I had a great deal of trust in him. In a few weeks, I was again in the mall to do some shopping. Suddenly, my eyes was caught by a sight in a coffee shop where Jack and again that girl were sitting together. Jack was furious with her at that time, and he was talking to her in an angry manner. It was clear by his gestures that he was not happy because of her and that she was crying because of him. His sudden departure came as a complete surprise to me. In the aftermath of his departure, I approached him and met with him. His reaction was as if I had never seen him before. In my question to him, I asked him what happened to you and why she was crying. He explained that her mother was ill and he had been admitted to the hospital, and he was just helping her and motivating her during this time. It was the second time I believed him. As far as I can remember, I was blinded by love at that time. Another thing to notice was that his attitude towards me changed in a strange way. There was no doubt in my mind that he was not in a good mental state. It seemed to me that he was always silent and unhappy, and it seemed like he was worried about something. Despite the fact that I spoke to him, he did not say anything to me. It just occurred to me that he started a new project in which he has been a bit busy with. He was also believed by me. During the course of 1 month, all of this happened. At that time, I noticed that his schedule had always been changed over the past few days, and he seemed to be more busy all the time. Rather than having time to spend with me, he was always busy and had no time to spend with me. Once, I went to his house and I realized that he was not there. A romantic dinner would be a perfect surprise for him, so I wanted to prepare one for him. There was a key in my possession, but on that particular day, it wasn't working. I'm unable to open the lock on the door. There was something astonishing about it. In order to figure out why the hell the door was not getting opened, I called Jack and asked him. He said the lock was broken, so that he changed it a few days ago. As I told him, I am standing outside of his house waiting till he comes out. His response was that he was extremely busy and it may take him an hour to get home, or it may take him longer. It is understandable why he was upset. However, I decided to wait outside the cafeteria on his street to reach home instead. I waited for 40 minutes before the car passed by the street. I was surprised to see that he had returned home early, according to his schedule. As soon as I reached his house, he opened the door to let me in, but I felt that he was not happy with the situation. There was something strange about the feeling I had. However, I didn't say anything to him about it. It was just a matter of watching what was going on around me. There's one more thing that has happened to him, that he started staying online on social media but not responding back to me at all. There was a feeling in my mind that he was fed up with me. As soon as I asked him again, he reacted differently to me and changed his attitude towards me as if he's the one who loves me the most. His attitude changed like the weather. I don't know what was going on with him at that time. Once when I called him, He said he was in the office on that particular day, so I had to give him something. When I arrived at the office, he was already there. In order to inform him of this, I asked his assistant to do so. Despite this, the assistant told me that I should wait as he was in a very important meeting at that time. It took me 1.5 hours to wait for him. In the end, I decided to return to my home. As a result of all these acts, I felt I was worthless in his eyes. As a few days after, Nancy came and we discussed this with each other. Due to the fact that our wedding is coming up soon and his attitude was changing day by day, I was becoming very worried about it. There is no way I am going to be able to afford this. I was told by Nancy that I shouldn't worry about anything. Everything would be fine as long as she spoke to him and talked to him about everything. It gives me a little satisfaction to know that she supports me. As soon as 2 days had passed, I called Nancy again. As a result, she said that he had been quite disrupted by his work, which was why he was doing all of this. In the near future, his current project will be completed. Then he'll be fine, so he should not have any problems. Her advice to me was to show some patience and to be patient with the process. The only way I had was to do the same because I had no other choice. In a few days, Jack came to meet me in the morning with beautiful flowers and a box of wonderful chocolates. There was no doubt in his mind that I loved these. During that time, I felt the love of him for the first time again. As a result, I was now satisfied with what he had done. It has taken me a while to find my Jack again, but I have found him. I am in love with someone who loves me like crazy. I was told by him that he's planning on having a bachelor party before he gets married. 2 days before the wedding, he decided to arrange this party for the guests. A bridal shower was also suggested by him and I was supposed to arrange it by myself. The bridal shower and the bachelor party was both held at the same time, so both of us were very busy on that night. I was so happy the next morning because it was the last day of my life and it was my last chance to get married to the man I love. When I called Jack, he didn't pick up the phone. The first thing that came to my mind was that maybe he was busy, but I called him several times but he didn't answer. In the middle of the day, he called me and apologized for being busy. His words were tinged with a kind of nervousness that I could sense in his body language. Due to the fact that I had been with him for over 5 years, I was very familiar with him and knew what he was like. It is possible that he is more than he can handle. I thought it was a natural reaction before getting married, so I was wrong. I didn't pay attention to it, so I ignored it. The next morning was the day of wedding. Everything was ready for the event. All the guests came and their families arrived as well. From an unknown number, I received a video as well as a message. The message was, "Jack is mine and he is just enslaving you with his helplessness. He was mine and he'll be mine forever. You're just a formality for him." If you do not believe it, watch this video of this bachelor party night. In that video, Jack was getting physical with the same girl with Jack I have encountered at various times throughout my life. Now that I had a greater understanding of who she was, it became clear to me that she was not just a simple employee to him. My heart was racing and I was really scared. In that moment, I started feeling as if I don't know him, as if I had been living with a stranger for the past 5 years. There was a sudden increase in the speed of my heartbeat. It wasn't long before the time of the wedding came. The way I handled myself is something I don't know how I did. My next step was to go to church. Jack had already arrived at the scene where I arrived. I was asked by my father whether I had accepted Jack as my husband. After a few seconds of silence, he asked me again and I remained silent. In the end, I screamed loudly and then I revealed everything to everyone and also showed everyone the video I received. All of his family, friends, colleagues and everyone else in the room was amazed at what they saw. There was no doubt that it was the right time. It was the first time in my life that I had seen him cry. I was begged by him not to leave. It took him a couple of minutes to explain that he was so drunk that night and that girl was his ex who had been stalking him and blackmailing him for the past few months. I was pleaded with by him not to leave. In spite of this, I have decided to leave him in church for the whole life. In terms of that man who was just a cheater, I have no idea what happened to him. He did not appear to me again after that. I'm very thankful to God that I was made aware of his dirty acts at the last minute. I cannot believe that I was about to get married to such a bad person. After a few months, he approached me and asked me for help. The girl doesn't give a damn about anything. He was getting more and more annoying day by day. He was damaging my reputation in my society as a result of his actions. In the end, I called the police and complained about him. As soon as the cops arrived, he was arrested. Eventually, one day Nancy came up to me and asked if I could forgive him, but I had no choice but to tell her that I had decided I could not forgive him. I decided to let her know that I made my decision. There is no place in my heart for him as even a dog. In spite of the fact that I trusted him, he broke my trust behind me. The truth is that I would not have been able to find out what the truth was if that girl did not send me that video on that day. As for Nancy, she begged me to forgive him and start over again, but I apologized to her anyway.